Good morning. We are live. This is the deep dive with Keeping Current Matters. It is Monday, August 12th. My name is Kate Rezebeck, and I'm thrilled to be here with you this morning. We've got such a great topic for you today, what rising inventory means for your clients. So really excited to share this one with you. There's so much going on in the housing market right now. And today what we're doing is we're bringing you some great visuals to help have the most powerful conversations with your clients. When you start to talk about inventory, really important to be able to not just tell your clients what's happening, but show them what's happening. And that's what I want to share with you today. So we're going to talk about what rising inventory means on the national level, what it looks like regionally, and we're going to break it down by state as well. So you can really show your clients what's happening out there and make it specific to your market too. So if you're a KCM member, you're going to have the opportunity to go ahead and download these slides in the member area. If you're not, trykcm.com is the place to go, and you can download all these visuals. You can use them in your listing presentations and your buyer consultations. Have them on your phone. Screenshots of these slides are a really powerful way to just get in good conversation. And that's the biggest thing right now, is to be talking about this stuff. Talk about what rising inventory means for your clients. So great topic today. I'm excited to dive into this one with you. As always, pop into the comments and tell us where you're tuning in from. We always love seeing our KCM members come back week after week. And of course, if you're new to us today, welcome. Thank you. It's nice to have you here. And we hope this is an impactful conversation for you. So we're going to go ahead and get started talking about what rising inventory means for your clients. And I want to start with this quote right here to get us going. So this is from Sam Cater, chief economist at Freddie Mac. And what he says is, our recent moderation in home price growth and increases in housing inventory are a welcoming sign for potential home buyers. And that's the bottom line right there. There are more choices for buyers out there right now, choices that they haven't seen in quite some time, given how tight inventory has been in the housing market. We're really seeing that inventory move to a healthier level. And what that's doing is it's helping moderate prices as well. So, as we see inventory rising, we're just going to talk about it, what it means for buyers. We're going to talk about it, what it means for sellers. And what I always want to remind everyone too is we're going to put context to this so you can see what inventory today means compared to more normal years in the market. And keep in mind, certainly not an oversupply. Spoiler alert, inventory is still too tight for that. But truthfully, what we have right here is a sweet spot for buyers right now. We've seen mortgage rates decline slightly over the past week or so. David talked about that with you on the deep dive last week. We're seeing mortgage rates start to come down. We're seeing more choices for buyers, and that could really be that sweet spot. But right now, having these conversations with your clients is what's going to move the needle, is what's going to help them find those homes that they've been looking for. So let's break it down. We're going to start with this graph of inventory. This is months supply, and it's been increasing in 2024. That's exactly what you can see here. From January to June, we've seen inventory start to tick up throughout the country. So, as we see inventory rising, we know that there's several reasons for that. We know that mortgage rates have been high, prices have been high. We've seen less demand, and we're also seeing homes sitting on the market a little bit longer. So with all of those factors coming together, that's some of the big reasons why we're seeing a tick up in inventory, these more choices for buyers. Now, let me put some context to this, because I think understanding what rising inventory means in today's market is what makes this so powerful. So let's take a look at active monthly listings. So this is the number of homes for sale, and we're going to start with 2017, 18, and 19. Those are the last normal years in the housing market. That's what you can see right here. We see that inventory typically starts out low, it rises throughout the year, starts to tail off as the holidays come towards the end of the year. Very typical cadence that we've seen in the housing market for decades and decades. Now, I'm going to build this out for you so you can see how it brings us to today. But what we see here next is this red line is 2020. We all know what happened there. That's when inventory started to get really, really tight. All of the different factors from record low mortgage rates that contributed to that, high buyer demand, everything that was happening in the housing market, we saw inventory really kind of tail off. Now, if I add in 21, 22, 23, those lines on the bottom, you can see inventory has been very, very low for several years. We haven't made it back up to that normal level yet. So for 21, 22, 23, inventory has still been constrained. We felt that over the past few years in the housing market. But 2024 is starting to tell a different story. And that's why I'm building this in for you to see, where are we right now? We can see that inventory is rising more than we've seen over the past few years. So that green line is showing we have made it over that mark of where active listings were in 2020. We're starting to follow a much more normal trajectory in active listings. But at the same time, we're still not back up to those pre-pandemic levels. We haven't hit those, those top lines, 2017, 18, 19, where we had much more normal levels in the housing market. So inventory is still low, but it's rising. So what does that mean? It means that there are more choices across the board for potential buyers. And that's what I want to break down for you today as we start to look at this more regionally. What does that look like across the country? So here's another way to look at inventory. And what we can see here in the blue bars is that inventory is up compared to this time last year. So year over year, the US national number is over on the left, up to about 36%. And regionally, you can see inventory is up throughout the different regions in the country. However, those red bars show that we still haven't made it to those pre-pandemic years. So this is comparing it to 2017, 18, and 19 again. Still down just under 30% compared to those pre-pandemic years on a national level. And we can see that, it's even inventory is up most in the South and the West. So those are the bars that you see over on the right. So we can see that inventory is very local. So you're probably feeling very different things throughout the country, depending on where you are. But bottom line is we're up compared to where we were last year, but we haven't hit those pre-pandemic levels yet. So still tight, that's still putting upward pressure on prices in a lot of different places. And we know that there's reasons for inventory levels being different in different places across the country. We know where new construction is happening. We've talked a lot about where affordability is taking different places in the country. And we've also talked about migration trends and where we know people are moving. So we're seeing those different inventory trends start to pop up as we look at this regionally. And I think this next map also shows a great breakdown of state by state. This is a 5-year comparison of active inventory. So this compares where we are right now, July 2024, to 5 years ago in July of 2019. We can see in those states up in the Northeast in particular, inventory is still down 40, 50, maybe even more percent than that. Still very, very tight in some markets. However, we're starting to see inventory levels rise in other parts of the country. Looking at some of those lighter color states, we're seeing that shift. We've talked about all the reasons why, we're seeing inventory move in different directions in that way. But starting to climb our way back to what is considered a more healthy level for the housing market. Now, here's where I want to get into another comparison, because I know when a lot of people hear inventory is rising, that what happens is, people start to think, oh my gosh, here we go again, 2008, 2010, we're going to have an oversupply, prices are going to crash. Let me make sure we have really good context here. And I think this next graph helps show us that inventory is rising, but it's nowhere near where we were when the housing market crashed. If you look at this line of 2008 to 2010, you can see inventory was an oversupply there. We had far more homes on the market than we had buyers. If you look down at the green section, yes, inventory is rising. Homes are staying on the market a little bit longer. We're seeing more options for buyers, but we're nowhere near where we were when the housing market crashed. And that's the context I think is really important to share, because as you have questions, as your clients have questions, you always want to use visuals to help take away the fear. And that's what this does, is contextually shows us, where are we now? We're rising. That's bringing us to a healthier level, but we're certainly not in an oversupply where housing prices can crash. There's debate right now as to whether 4 months, 5 months, 6 months is a balanced market. What's a seller's market? What's a buyer's market? That's still yet to be determined, but we certainly are seeing inventory creep in that direction of a healthier level, which creates more choices for buyers. As rates continue to come down, as we see more choices for buyers, this really becomes their sweet spot to potentially jump in if they've been waiting, if they've been searching for that home, if they've been waiting for rates to come down, to find that purchasing power that they've been looking for. On the flip side, what it means for sellers is sellers still need to make sure that their houses are priced right, they're in good condition, because those listings are still selling very quickly, but they need to be ready to negotiate too, because buyers are gaining negotiation power in this market as we move more toward that healthy level of inventory. Now, I want to take a moment to talk about new construction as well. We've looked at existing homes right now, what that means for buyers potentially jumping back into the market. What does new construction look like as well? Because this is another topic that comes up. This is the inventory of newly built homes. And what you can see over the past year, we've definitely seen that inventory level rising above what the 61-year average is. So there are more new homes on the market. In fact, right now, it's about 1 out of every 3 homes on the market right now is new construction. That's more than we typically see. But what sometimes people start to worry about is, oh no, do we have an oversupply? Are builders overbuilding? Well, I'm going to show you on this next slide. And if you've followed along with us, you have absolutely seen this one before. I'm going to show you what this means contextually as we look at what builders are doing. Builders aren't overbuilding, they are just catching up. And when you look at this is single family housing units going all the way back to 1970. And what we see in those red lines are all the years that we underbuilt in this country. So yes, we're seeing it tick up. We're seeing builders add more inventory to the market, but look at the huge deficit that it left in 15 years of underbuilding. It is going to take years to go ahead and make that up. So builders are certainly adding to the market, but it's not anywhere that's going to take us to an oversupply right now. And truthfully, builders are being much more strategic right now. As they have more inventory and they're using incentives like rate buy downs and warranties and other things to help sell off that inventory. We're also seeing starts, permits, those types of things start to slow down at the same time. So it's much more strategic approach to keep the level of inventory as healthy as possible and move in that direction. And we're seeing that signs for buyers right now. So let's sum up what's happening with inventory right now and talk about where this takes us. This is a quote from Lawrence Yun, chief economist at NAR. He says, increased housing supply spells good news for consumers who want to see more properties before making purchasing decisions. That's what buyers have been looking for, having more supply, having options, being able to sort through that. And as their purchasing power starts to increase, that's definitely a good thing for buyers as well. Now, I want to talk about what this means going forward, because this quote from Ralph McLaughlin at Realtor.com really sums up where we are right now and where we're headed. He says, we think the decrease in mortgage rates in July likely contributed to an increased pace of growth in listing activity. We expect selling activity to continue to normalize as rates inch their way down over the next year, with potentially an unusual uptick in September if the Fed decides to cut rates. So what do we know has happened over the past couple of weeks? We've seen mortgage rates ease a little bit, certainly not back to their historic lows, but moving in the right direction as we see those economic factors like inflation and employment and those other things that we're looking for in the economy. We're seeing mortgage rates start to respond. Now, the expectation and what the experts are forecasting is that rates will continue to ease. Not dropping down to those historic lows again, but certainly coming off this peak that we've seen very recently. So what is that going to do? How is that going to impact inventory? Well, we know as mortgage rates come down, that gives buyers more incentive to jump back in the market. It gives homeowners who have felt that lock-in effect maybe more incentive to list their homes. I don't think it's going to be a flood on either side by any means, but certainly more activity, more transactions. And as more buyers jump back in, that means more competition in the market. It's going to continue to put upward pressure on prices. We're going to see all those things realistically start to pan out as we start to see mortgage rates move a little bit more. Now, we're not saying that's definitely going to happen. We've got to see what happens with the economy. We've got to see what happens with mortgage rates, but that's the anticipation right now and what all the data is currently telling us. So what does that mean right now? It means have these conversations with your potential buyers. If they're feeling like they've been looking for a home, this is a moment where they're going to see more options. This is where the purchasing power is starting to work a little bit more in their favor than maybe it had a few months ago. But certainly if they're ready and able and willing to jump in before everyone else does, that gives them an advantage in this process. So being there, having these conversations, getting out there and talking with your clients, that's what's really going to move the needle as we see the fall market start to play out. Now, as always, remember, we say most agents know what's happening. Good agents understand it, but it's only great agents that can explain what's happening. And I started off today talking about how there's such a big difference between telling your clients what's happening and showing them what's happening. And when you use the slides we have today, the visuals that, paint the picture, you can start to tell the story and show your clients exactly what this means for them as inventory starts to rise. So really, really important to be able to explain what's happening right now. As always, we love to give you great resources to be able to do that. In addition to the slides we had here today, we've got some great content on how to be the expert on inventory. Our blog today, Are There More Homes for Sale Where You Live? Our social graphic that you can put out on Instagram. We've got a real talk script, so you can record a quick video on this, put this out there on your social, text it to your clients, whatever you want to do to talk about what's happening with inventory on a national level, because that's what they're seeing in the news. And then you can start to break it down by what's happening in your specific local area. And that is how you become the expert. So thank you so much for joining us. It is always a pleasure to have you here for the deep dive. Really looking forward to having you back again next week. David will be back for you, and we'll see you then.